All right, first time ever taking the ferry from Tiburon to San Francisco, even though I've been coming to Tiburon since 2021. It's my very first time. It's pretty windy out here today, but it actually feels really nice because it's a hot day, so I chose a nice hot day to make it over to San Francisco, and be interesting to see what we see along the way. So we made it to downtown San Francisco. I have my lovely wife Lizzie with me here today.
Guys.
And this is a perfect place to talk about how the economy's falling apart. Because there's a lot of things we're going to talk about today, guys. FedEx is having some major problems with their earnings, which is a huge sign that things are not going well with the economy. And later on in this video, I'm going to get into how the unemployment numbers are actually far worse than you think they are right now. And we're walking along the Embarcadero here, and I'm heading down to this famous park here in San Francisco called Rincon Park. Probably never heard of it, but once you see it, you probably recognize it from different movies. FedEx, they pretty much just revealed what's really going on right now with the economy, because FedEx just said that they are seeing a softer demand environment in the industrial economy as consumers tighten their spending. This is something that we've been talking about, and more businesses are confirming this with their earnings reports. Okay, so it's not like just stuff that's made up, well, he said this and she said that. These are verifiable things that are happening in our economy. Okay, and when you look at it on the surface, you can say it's a nothing burger, because when we look at FedEx's first quarter earnings of 2024, it just went down to 21.6 billion, and a year ago it was 21.7 billion. You can say, oh, that's nothing. They're not really losing that much money. Except you have to understand that earnings doesn't translate into net income. And that's why FedEx is actually hurting right now, because when you look at their net income, it's actually down 23% year over year. Even though their earnings barely dropped at all, the amount of money, the expenses that they have, just like every other business that's battling inflation right now, is having a hard time, guys, and FedEx is not immune to this. FedEx reported that they earned $3.60 per share during the quarter, which is almost a 21% decrease from the $4.55 per share it earned in the same first quarter just 1 year ago. So the CEO of FedEx said on an earnings call just here on September 19th, FedEx is seeing weaker demand for U.S. domestic packages, and the company face a slightly lower average daily package volume. So they're just not seeing as many items being shipped right now. And we already covered how the trucking industry is already screaming a recession right now. Now you have companies like FedEx saying that they're getting hit. So now FedEx is adjusting their future outlook of what's going to happen into 2025. And they now predict that they're going to have a low single-digit percentage revenue growth rate year over year compared to the low to mid single-digit percentage increase it previously expected. So this is once again another thing that we can look at with this economy and say, you know, everything that they keep telling us in terms of expectations for employment, unemployment, the amount of jobs being created, even the amount of shipping that FedEx expected to do is lower than expected in almost every single case. So that means a lot of people haven't really caught up mentally with the fact that the economy is not as good as we keep being told. See the big bow and arrow going into the ground? I don't know how many movies I've seen this in, so I've never actually visited this part of San Francisco before. So the reason why FedEx is struggling is because it is a domino effect. As small businesses struggle, you know, business to business shipments decrease, and you know, customers are looking for the cheapest shipping options as possible as well. And all of these companies are grappling with inflation right now. All of these companies are having to find ways to cut costs that they previously didn't have to in order to try to continue turning a profit. That's part of the issue here. And so when companies have to do this, they end up taking a hit on their net income, which is exactly what's happening with FedEx, guys. In fact, according to a recent survey from the National Federation of Independent Business, 25% of small business owners revealed that inflation was their single most important problem in operating their business, because it's a tricky thing. It's something that everyone's affected by. How do you keep profits soaring? How do you keep profits going up at the same time when your expenses are going up and you're forced to pay employees more in order to keep up with their cost of living? How do you do it? You can't pass on all of these costs to your customers because people would stop patronizing your business. You know, you have all sorts of things happening right now. There's different cost pressures for businesses, especially the labor costs, and this is impacting the bottom line of every single business in America, both small and large. And the owners of these businesses are heading towards an unpredictable period. You know, we have the election coming up. They don't know what's going to happen with the policies that some of our new leaders may make in the very near future. And if things are already tough right now, you can almost guarantee they're going to get worse because all of these people are not probably going to do what we need them to do, right? That's something that we typically see with all these politicians. You know, we need them to lower our cost of living. And what is their answer? Oh, let's just print more money and give everybody more money, which ends up raising the cost of living. So clearly, the people in charge have no clue what they're doing. Now let's talk about unemployment, okay? Because the unemployment numbers are actually far worse than what's being reported right now. And I have the data to back it up, guys. So just follow along here and you'll see what I mean once we get through this segment, okay? The continued weekly unemployment claims actually just fell from 1.87 million in July to 1.83 million in September. Well, why is that? The reason is because the level of 27-week or longer unemployment hit 1.533 million in August of 2024. That's up from 1.2 million in February and 1.05 million in January of 2023. The reason for this? Expiring unemployment benefits. Pretty much all states, with a couple exceptions, offer 26 weeks of unemployment benefits. That's the maximum amount of time you can receive unemployment, and then you're kicked off. Doesn't mean you're no longer unemployed, just means you're no longer collecting the benefits. And most states use a sliding scale based on a worker's earnings history to determine the maximum number of weeks that they qualify. So not even everybody who makes an unemployment claim can actually collect unemployment for that full 26 weeks. So only Montana and Massachusetts have continuing unemployment claims after 26 weeks. All the rest of the states fall off after 26 weeks. So when we take a look at this chart here, you can see the peak of 1.87 million unemployment claims, and now we're down to 1.829 million. So since February of 2024, long-term unemployment is actually up by 330,000 people, and that's if we're trusting the official government data, which also means that the current unemployment figures that we're getting right now are actually wrong because of all the people that are falling off of unemployment right now. In order to get a real gauge of what's happening in the economy, we have another chart that we can take a look at. So when we add the number of people unemployed 27 weeks or longer to the number of continued claims, the chart that you see on the screen shows the monthly average of continued claims. But here's the problem, guys. Once you add up the people who are unemployed past 27 weeks plus the continued claims, you get a much bigger number than the government is telling us right now. And that puts us at 3.85 million people who are probably unemployed right now. That is horrific because this number is practically double what the official figures are telling us right now. So that's why you have to take a look at this and pay attention and realize like things are actually a lot worse than what they're telling us it is. So actually when you see the continued unemployment claims dropping, a lot of people would think, oh, this is a good thing. Less people are on unemployment and they're finding a new job. That doesn't mean that at all. It just means that they're no longer collecting unemployment benefits, and we're very likely to see a big increase in defaults on more debts as this continues to fall off. As more people continue to fall off unemployment, that's their last lifeline other than dipping into a retirement fund or getting a loan from friends, family, or a loan shark. And to give you guys an idea of how much this is happening to people right now, one of my viewers who wishes to remain anonymous works for this company called McKesson Medical. He told me that a couple of weeks ago, that they were told we weren't doing very good in our numbers, and all of a sudden they announced a volunteer retirement program for people that were 55 and older. And this doesn't apply to him because he's 47 and he didn't make the cut. So even though he didn't make the cut to get this voluntary early retirement, that puts him in this position where maybe he will actually be laid off in the near future. And it's all unknown. It's all up in the air, guys. Once companies start seeing their revenues going down, they look for ways to cut costs, like so many others that we've talked about recently. So unfortunately, there's a high probability that this person may end up getting laid off. Now, the company's claiming that if enough people take the early retirement package, that they may not have any layoffs, but that's just a big maybe. Nobody really knows. And it really sucks not knowing your fate, especially when you've been working for a company for 20 years. You know, that's the situation that this person is in right now. So there's just so many people in limbo right now with their job and what's happening if you don't have a job and kind of like looking for a job. And everybody's like kind of shocked that, oh, people are not out there spending the money like they were a couple years ago. Oh, the interest rates are down and no one's out there buying houses. I wonder why, guys. When you really look at these things that are actually happening to real people, it's not a surprise that people are hanging back right now, probably mostly out of necessity for most people. Yeah, sure, some people have the luxury of being able to choose whether or not they want to buy a house right now or move or start a business or whatever, but most people are just trying to hang on. Now, since we're in San Francisco, it's a good place to talk about EV demand. Now, in Germany, they're already in a recession, okay? They're having even more economic problems over there than we are right now. Over there, they're showing, as of the latest August data, that the EV demand in Germany is absolutely collapsing right now. According to the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, they reported a 69% plunge in EV deliveries in Germany last month, with just over 27,000 vehicles delivered. Across the region, there was a 36% drop. So sliding demand is coming after Germany slashed its incentives, making EVs less affordable for the working class. So the interesting thing is, here in the US, we still have all these incentives to drive an EV, right? You have the incentives from the Inflation Reduction Act, and you also have them on a state level, which can, in some cases, make them even cheaper than buying a gas-powered car when you add up all the incentives. I even showed you guys an example a couple weeks ago where you can literally get a Nissan Leaf right now for like $50 a month or something. I think it was even less than that. It was a 20, right? It was really low, really low. And that's in Colorado. So there's no gas-powered car anywhere that you can get for that price right now. That's the reality. These cars are extremely affordable because they're subsidized, okay? And once those subsidies end here in the US, we'll probably likely be seeing the same drop in demand. So what this drop in EV demand in Germany showcases is a couple of things. It showcases that no matter where you are, a lot of people still don't want to drive these cars, or at least they can't afford to, unless there's some serious government subsidies to allow people to purchase or lease them, number one, right? But it also shows how weak the economy is in Europe too. Like, they are having the same problems we're having over here. They're having to deal with inflation, they have to deal with a ton of illegal immigration, they're having to deal with, you know, people being priced out of their homes because of Airbnbs and too many tourists visiting an area. They're dealing with all the same stuff we are, guys. And you know, the most insane thing about this is because they can't sell these cars, you have companies like VW and Renault. They are at risk right now of hefty fines from the European Union because the fleet emissions rules are set to kick in next year. So in 2025, supposed to be able to get more people on board with driving an electric car, and now they're going to start fining companies because they weren't able to push through their agenda. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. And the US is trying to do the same thing. Whether or not they're going to be successful at it is yet to be seen. This just goes to show you that these political agendas that are out there right now to push people in a certain direction, to drive a certain car, or to vote a certain way, or to believe in something that's not real or is real or whatever, is so strong that people are actually going to lose money over it. Businesses could end up closing down over it, and there's real penalties and fines for not doing what they say. The European Automobile Manufacturer Association, they also warned that a continuous trend of shrinking market share for electric cars in the EU sends an extremely worrying signal to industry and policymakers. Well, what is that? That people don't want to adopt your technology that's not ready for the masses yet? What kind of signal is that really sending? That's the signal it sends, if you ask me. So now all the automakers in the EU are calling for urgent relief measures before the new CO2 targets for cars and vans come into effect. In other words, they need to roll back these ridiculous guidelines they're trying to enforce starting next year. And you know what, guys? It's going to be the same thing with everything else. I predicted this was going to happen here in the US, probably also going to happen in the condo market. You know, starting in 2025, all these buildings in Florida are supposed to be magically at full reserves and fully funded. It's not going to happen, guys. So you're going to have to see these governments come in and roll back these previous plans that they thought were going to be achievable that turned out to be far too ambitious. This situation right now has Volkswagen considering closing down factories for the first time ever in the company's history. That's how bad this is. And obviously, no matter what kind of incentives you have out there, you can't force people to buy a car they don't want and or cannot afford when the country is in a recession. Here's something else to show you guys that's like a personal anecdote of something insane right now. You know, what was it, last year or even earlier this year, Ticketmaster just got busted for basically spilling everyone's data. Pretty much anyone who's ever bought anything with Ticketmaster got in trouble for a data leak, right? And of course, nothing was done about it, just like every other time this happens with every other company. It's so out of control what happens on their website when it comes to people flipping tickets and all of this. Like, I'm kind of like of the mindset now with how ridiculous it is that once you buy a ticket to a concert, if you can't attend, that's what the ticket insurance is for, okay? You're not gonna sell it to somebody else, maybe a friend or something, if you really needed to, but you know, you shouldn't be able to flip these tickets for crazy amounts of money, right? Well, check this out. Metallica, they just announced that they're gonna have a new tour next year. And of course, I want tickets. So I was looking at this and it says right here, the Snake Pit package should cost $800 per person, which is a lot of money, but it's for a 2-day show, okay? And it's Metallica. So you think, okay, that's expensive, but it'll probably be worth it, right? Well, guess what? You head on over to Ticketmaster to buy those same exact tickets. What do you see right here? The price for those 2 tickets is $10,608, guys. How much of a markup is that? That's more than 10 times expensive what it said it's supposed to be on Metallica's website. All because, I don't know what, you know, Ticketmaster allows this to happen. They allow people to buy tickets and maybe turn around and flip them quickly or something. I mean, it's an absolute joke, guys. And the worst part is some sucker out there who's desperate to go to the show will probably pay this money to Ticketmaster and somebody else who maybe bought the tickets for the real price. And it's just an absolute scam. And I've never really felt bad for people getting scammed, because a lot of the scams are really stupid, you know, giving people your social security number or bank account numbers. But this is different, you know. People who don't know any better when it comes to the whole concert ticket scam are getting scammed every single day and literally losing billions of dollars over it. So remember all this next time you want to go buy concert tickets. And also remember, next time they come out with the unemployment report and they tell us there's basically only 1.8 million people unemployed across the country, you know that is a bunch of garbage. It's not true. And all the sales numbers and everything that's happening around us is starting to reflect the truth. And it really won't be able to be hidden very much longer, which is why probably what everybody's been saying is going to happen. As soon as the election comes through and whoever gets elected president next, everything's going to take a massive downturn, guys. That's really where it looks like we're headed right now. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.